Hello, welcome back to the Starting Story podcast with me, Krishna Palmer. Here, I talk to and interview business professionals from across the world about how they started in this world of entrepreneurship and the story they've taken along the way to get them to where they are right now. Today's guest is Sabrina del Duca. She is a former advertising professional and had a successful career, after which she experienced burnout and decided to take a break and start helping women in their 30s break free from societal expectations and create lives aligned with their authentic selves. She embarked on a self-journey of discovery through dance, leading her to find her true purpose in helping others navigate similar transformations whenever they've had to have a change in their life. Join me as I talk to Sabrina about her starting story. Hello, Sabrina. Thank you so much for coming on to the podcast with me today. How are you doing?
I'm great, Krishna. How are you?
I'm doing great. I'm doing great. It's lovely to see you, calling all from Canada.
Yes.
I thought just to start off, why don't you give a little introduction into who you are and what you do?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for having me. Thank you for inviting me and giving me the opportunity to speak a little bit about my story. I am currently a coach and a dance educator, and dance has been a part of my life since I was a kid. It's that, the passion within me that I then turned into a career. But at 25 years old, I decided, let's try something new. So I went into advertising, which is
Mm,
what I studied in school. And I was like, you know what? It's now or never kind of thing. Like, let me try this. And I ended up staying in that career for 10 years. It was an amazing career. I met amazing people. I traveled. I worked on such inspiring projects. And it was also creative. So I think that's what attracted me to it. So it wasn't just
mm,
the marketing portion or the business, it was the creative side of it all. And that career was working for me. It was doing everything it needed to do. I was checking the boxes, and then after about 8 years, I would say, I started to feel shifts. And I didn't quite know or understand what that was at the time, but I just felt like something was missing, something wasn't quite right. And with that came a lot of guilt because, like, look at this. Look what I've built for myself, this amazing career, and everything's great on paper. Like, why do I feel like I want more? How selfish of me. So
mm,
then came shame, right? And all these feelings were flooding me. And at the time, I didn't have the tools to understand what that meant. I just felt off. I think that's the best way I could put it. And I
yeah.
fought that feeling for 2 years, coupled with the advertising industry and its standards and its hustle culture and its high maintenance clients, some of which were really demanding on me. All of that and that disconnect from who I truly was led to a burnout. And that burnout, in hindsight, was the best gift for me because it gave me the option and the opportunity to slow down, to look at my life and say, okay, I'm 35, I was at the time. What do I want to do? And I never thought I would be able to ask myself that question a second time in my life. Like when we're out of school, out of university, it's like you make your plans, you set your career, and usually you stay there for life, but not
Yeah.
anymore. And I want to bring light to that. Like we don't have to stay in that one job. We're allowed to change. We're allowed to want more. And that burnout then also gave me the possibility of having a very honest conversation with my boss at the time, who recognized the signs in me that he went through. And he was like, this chapter is done. Stop fighting it. You need to look for something else. You need to look for what will inspire you now. And that was
Mm,
the most beautiful permission I could have ever received because I would have never done it on my own. I was too scared of the unknown, which is normal. But he gave me permission to just dream big. And that's what I did. I went on a healing journey because a lot of the pent up emotions and the internal and inner critic needed to kind of be confronted. About a year of a healing journey, and then I was like, you know what? If I'm feeling this way, other people must be too, and let me help them. And I
mm,
love the idea of just helping navigate change for people, something that I wish I had that I've maybe found out too late. And going back to dancing and teaching, instilling and inspiring confidence in individuals, like that all kind of came together and just led me to build a career as a coach and as a teacher. And that's what I do now.
amazing. Wow. Well, I mean, what a journey and what a career shift that is. Especially going from something that you genuinely enjoyed and then you're just realizing it's not for me.
Yeah.
So do you want to talk a bit more about what do you mean by it wasn't for you? Why did it suddenly change?
I felt a lot of resistance. And what that means is that, like, I was waking up in the morning and I was feeling dread, like, oh, I don't want to go to work today. And actually, the
Mm,
first thought I had was, how can I call in sick? Which is not normal,
mm,
right? So, having that thought of like, how do I make an excuse for not going to work today? That was a big signal for me that, wait, something is not right.
yeah.
I was uninspired. I was unmotivated. Things that used to light me up. Like, I used to love presenting to clients, the creative. I used to love being in that environment of like even just compromising and negotiating with clients. Like, what could we do? And I got to that point where I was like, I don't care anymore. I was just like, why are you always challenging us? Like, we're just trying to do a good job. Like, I felt very irritated and irritable.
Yeah.
And all of these changes, because they weren't being addressed, just grew over time. And what ended up
Okay.
happening with me is that I shut down. So the person who was always speaking in meetings or in presentations, because I was the account leader, all of a sudden I'm in a meeting and I'm saying nothing. And even clients were noticing, like, are you okay today? So,
Mm,
huge shift in personality, in behavior, because I was just so disconnected from myself. And I got to a point also where I was like, I don't care. And I hate not caring because I love caring. I'm passionate. So the
yeah.
fact that I didn't care, I was like, okay, I can't be in this situation for another 10 years. I think it was that reality that hit me. It's like, this is what's happening right now. This cannot be what the rest of my career looks like. Like, I don't accept that. And that's what
Mm,
kind of started to spark those conversations and those hard questions of like, is this still for me? We don't like asking those
okay.
questions because we know the answer. The answer is probably no. And then we have to do something about it. So,
Exactly.
yeah.
Okay, so I mean, it's natural for humans to want to move on and get bored of the same thing over and over again. But how come you decided that rather than just going to another advertisement role or even just another role as an employee in something in the
Mhm.
creative industry elsewhere, how do you decide that no, 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 I need to have a hiatus and think things through a bit more differently?
Great question. And this is something that I actually lead my clients through because I think it's important to distinguish, are you done with the agency and the role or with the industry itself?
Yeah.
Because it could just be the agency no longer aligns with you, or like the current job or your coworkers. Like, there is a number of factors, but I think it's worth asking the question. And for me, when I asked the question and I pictured myself in another agency, for me, I was like, then I have to start over from scratch. And I'm still going to be faced with the same deadlines and the same high maintenance clients. And I'm like, oh, no, it's the industry for me that doesn't work. However,
Mm,
to give you an example, one of my clients who I actually used to work with, we worked recently because she was faced with that same challenge. And through that reflection and asking those questions, she realized that she was still happy in the industry. It was maybe just the place that she was at, or maybe the lack of balance that she had created, putting too much emphasis on her professional life, not enough on her personal. That's what needed to change, but she was still happy in the industry. So I don't
mm,
think that a huge drastic career change like I did is the answer for everybody. I think you really need to see what works for you. But it all starts with being open to ask those questions, to get reflective, to get that awareness of like, okay, is it where I am and the people I work with and the nature of the job, or is it the industry itself? And
yeah.
then
Well,
kind of take action.
yeah, I'm glad you've taken that into account in your thing, in your kind of teaching, because it's so true, right? Sometimes you can get swayed. You don't like one particular job, and you're like, "Well, that's me over. I can't work in this industry ever again."
Right.
When actually, you just need just a smaller change, rather than completely putting yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And when you said you went into burnout, which is
Mhm.
I've heard from a couple of guests where you go into burnout because of various different reasons, but obviously it manifests itself in different ways.
Yeah.
So for you, it's kind of like a two-part question. A, did you see the burnout coming? And B, how did it manifest in you?
I did not see it coming. At the time,
Okay.
we're talking 6 years ago, it was not as spoken about as it is today,
Mm,
unfortunately. So there was still a stigma around like, oh, if you're in burnout, you're a failure. And then you're blacklisted. No one ever wants to hire you again because you're known as the person who burnt out. and you can't handle your work, right? Like all of that negative
Yeah, yeah.
talk around it was also in my head. So for me, I was like, well, no, I can't be burnt out. Like I'm too strong for burnout kind of thing. So I
Yeah.
did not see it coming. What I felt is I'm overworked. I need a vacation, right? Or I just need help. I need a team, which I asked for multiple times and I never received. So I was in a position where I was the director of the account, but I was also alone on my team. So I was doing the task of maybe three, four people. So I would
Okay.
with 10 different clients and projects. So yes, clearly I was overworked, but I think the burnout itself was more about doing work that no longer fulfilled me, that no longer felt aligned. Because yes, you could be overworked and you take a vacation like I did. I took a 2 week vacation and I came back feeling great and refreshed. And within a day, all of those
Hated it.
feelings came flooding back. So that's
Yeah.
when I was like, okay, I'm not just overworked, because even if I rest and I take time off, then I come back and the same pattern is starting all over again. So I think for me, and I think the question that if someone is feeling kind of at that crossroads or at that point of maybe being burnt out, is asking yourself if the work that you're doing still aligns with who you are, with what you want. Does it still fulfill you? Does it bring you meaning? Does it bring you purpose? And I think that lack of purpose for me, where I just felt like I didn't care in what I was doing anymore, that's what really set off the burnout into that downward spiral of just like essentially giving up on my work.
Right. Okay. And I think it's quite nice that your boss understood it and was like, I can see from my perspective as well. You've kind of you've peaked. You've kind of
Yeah.
reached optimum, and anything you do now is clearly gonna be at detriment to yourself.
Mhm.
And even they suggested that maybe you should think about moving on and seeing something different. What was it like initially leaving, I suppose, because you didn't have things sorted out for yourself. You really didn't know what is going to happen.
No,
So it was very much a step into the unknown. What did that feel like?
scary. Absolutely
Definitely.
scary.
Yeah.
Yeah. But within me, there was this deep sense of knowing, like I've made the right decision. I don't know what's going
Mm,
to happen, but I just know that this is what I need to do. There was a deep sense of peace, which maybe you wouldn't expect when making a decision like that and stepping into the unknown and being like, I got no backup plan. I quit my job, still got
mm,
bills to pay, but here we are, right? And I'll figure it out. But
yeah.
part of me was like, this is your path. This is your journey. This is exactly where you need to be, and trust yourself. And so I just kind of kept listening within. And I think that was the beginning of my healing journey as well, to reconnect with that inner voice that I had lost through the years and through pushing it down in that burnout phase. That now that voice was louder and it was saying, like, this is it. Like, you're good. Just trust that one step at a time we'll get there, but you need to leave that old life behind. Like, that's no longer you.
Yeah, I think you might have noticed this in your clients as well. I think there's now this better shift towards people being living a little bit more true to themselves, at least trying to. Whereas I think before there was a lot of more like corporate culture, which was like if you're in a job, you stay to the job, you align yourself basically to the vision and the goals of the company you work with.
Right.
And if you don't align, then you're just kind of strange. So I'm seeing it a lot, especially in like the younger generation, where they're like, we like, no, if I don't feel like it's the correct thing to do, I will just move on. Like, it's my life, I will keep doing it.
Yeah.
um and this is kind of what you did as well, Sabrina, where you were thinking that, as much as I've loved the job so far, I need to move on. And I'm glad we discussed kind of why burnout happens and how it affects you, because it is genuinely different for every single person, and you
Yeah.
probably know that better than I do. And I honestly find it interesting the amount of people I've heard that have said that they went through burnout or super amounts of stress, and every single person has a different story behind it or a different way it came across. So
Mhm.
clearly, this is something which is a complex issue, and there's no one size fits all for it. So you moved on and you went into well, you initially had your kind of hiatus where you just went on your healing journey,
Yes.
um, almost, I suppose, in retrospect, I suppose that was a way for you to almost work through the emotions you were going through, because you would have left the job just in a cloud and a haze, and this was the best way for you to kind of see the light at the end of it, right?
Absolutely. I needed that time. to heal, to reset, to recharge.
Hmm.
I must say that I did take a contract during that time
Okay.
for a company. One of the clients who I had at the agency was a fashion branding company, and they reached out to me and they're like, "Oh, can you help us out? Like, we just want a little mandate." And even the woman was like, "I know you just left the other job, so if it's too soon, let me know." And I was like, "No, it's good." But really, I should have taken a little more time because now thinking back, I was still kind of checked out, zoned out. So my work was not as professional or up to quality as it could have been.
Hmm.
I did my best, but I think I did need a little more distance before taking on any project. So just know that if you're listening and if you're like, okay, well, I'm going to jump into a mandate just because, yeah, I got to pay the bills, which I totally get, just be careful and honor your body, honor like what you need. But I will also say that during that year, like, so that I left my job in March, and then over the summer, I was like, I'm healing. But I
Hmm.
did take that mandate. I think it was kind of like in May, June kind of thing. So it's still too fresh. But what ended up happening is I went back into teaching, which was my passion, my love, like dance teaching. And I started a new job teaching in September, which was great for me because it was something that was known and familiar and comfortable. It kind of got me back into doing what I love. And that's when I realized that when you're in burnout or when you're healing, it's important, yes, to kind of heal your body, heal your emotions, but also do things that bring you joy, do things that bring you back to what makes you happy. And for me, that was teaching. And then in March of the following year, a few months later, pandemic.
Ah, okay.
So I actually had the world shut down and give me an opportunity to heal. So it gave
Wow.
me the opportunity to slow down and not feel like I had to have it figured out. So thankfully, like I look at that as a blessing because there was nothing to do. We were all home. And with all of the online courses that were going on, it gave me an opportunity to just dabble and learn. I went into psychology, I went into behavioral change. I started learning all these things online because I was bored. There was nothing else to do.
Oh,
And
okay.
yeah, and so that's what opened up kind of my aperture of like, okay, what else is there out there? And then I started taking meditation classes and then leadership classes. And through all of this learning and this just like exploring and being adventurous and like, what else is there? Like being curious, naturally the path led to coach. And I think then the year after, it was like, okay, with everything that I've learned, let me actually hire a mentor to help me. And she was the one who was like, well, you're already coaching in a way when you're teaching. So why not just go all in and just become a coach? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. And then started the company.
Okay. So yeah, so that makes sense. So you went into teaching. Clearly, it's something that you're good at, and then you eventually, through a roundabout route, realized coaching is the right thing for you.
Hmm.
But what was those first steps like when you were coaching? When you started, you knew that
Yeah.
you could help people out, but you probably didn't know exactly who it is you want to help out, unless you did. Correct me if I'm wrong, but unless usually when I spoke to people, they say they didn't know who it was exactly they need to help out. What exactly is that they can help out in? They just know they want to help people. So
Hmm.
when you started your business in coaching, how do you kind of narrow that down to be kind of fitting with your character?
I think that's fair because for me too, all I kept saying is I just want to help people. And then
Hmm.
when I would be asked the question, well, who and what? I was like, I don't know. I just want to help people. Just in
Yeah.
general, help people. But when it was time to narrow down, because I did need to start getting clear on who that was, I just relied on what I knew, which was career transition. So my first coaching program and outreach was women having experienced what I just went through because I now was able to be in a space where I had the tools to help cope. And it was
Yeah.
more along the lines of like what I wish I had going into the burnout, not having to hit rock bottom like I did, but like, what do I wish I would have known? What kind of coaching or guidance could I have had? And that's how I built my program. And that's how I sold it. And that's how I got my first few clients who were questioning their career change choices during, again, in the pandemic when everyone started questioning, right? We were kind of left with our thoughts and
Yeah.
our and
Yeah.
ourselves to just be like, okay, well, if life moves on in a different way because there is clearly a before and after, but what does my after look like? What do I want that to look like? is there an opportunity for change? And so I think timing was right to help people through that moment of just like reflecting and seeing what else there could be.
Hmm.
And since then, the industry has grown tremendously. So now, as I move forward as well, I also need to narrow down and say, like, okay, what do I still want to help people like that? Yes, I do. But I think I need to also open it up to just people navigating change in general, people who want to maybe feel more confident, maybe people who want to create their own version of success. So it's kind of like coaching in different ways that are is not as specific as career, but definitely that's still a big part of it.
Amazing. And then how do you go about finding these people?
Right now, combination of word of mouth. So from my clients who let other clients know or potential clients.
Yeah.
And social media is hard, but I'm trying. Social media is just because it's so busy. But
Yeah, of
that's,
course.
yeah. So I think, word of mouth is always the strongest because even if you see someone on social media, it takes a while to build that trust, build that connection to then say, okay, I'm going to hire you as a coach. And that's understandable. But word of mouth, it's like, okay, well, my friend just had this amazing experience. So of course I'm going to sign up because there's that trust that's already built in through that mutual friend.
Okay. So word of mouth, and ultimately with word of mouth, you have what they call like warmer leads, don't you? You have people who already know you, they know how you work, so you don't have to do the whole kind of spiel of like, this is me, this is what I do, because they already know that.
Right.
And they're already like 50% of the way to going, yes, I want you to help me out here. Okay, and then when you started, right, what were your kind of pricing strategy at that point? It might have changed since then, but what did you think
Mhm.
would be the way that you'd make money right at the beginning?
What did I do? I think I checked out what was available out there. Did like a little competitive analysis of like what are coaches charging, what is the
Yeah,
rate going. But the coaching industry, there's no guidelines, right? It's not regulated, so you can do
yeah,
anything. I think moving forward, what I always like to compare to is like a therapy session. So, what do people charge for a therapy session for an hour of someone's time? Even, healing practitioners, what do they charge for an hour of their time? And then kind of build accordingly. And also being aware that you can adapt to your audience. So, like, I have career women and I have students. And I do have a sliding scale because I'm aware that students are maybe not in a position to be able to spend the same as a corporate woman. So it's kind of
yeah.
like I want to give the opportunity to everyone to be able to invest in a way that feels comfortable for them. So that's also an option that I can offer. But it's also, yeah, just seeing kind of what's out there and then just trusting because, we all say charge your worth. Yeah, like don't charge like $5 for your time, but like charge an amount that you feel comfortable with that works for you. So that's very personal, depending on your lifestyle and your investments and your bills and your this and your that. It's kind of like your financial needs are going to be different than someone else's. So charge what you feel would work for you.
Hmm. And the people that you help out, the clients, uh, are they, what specific area are they struggling in? Is there any particular zone, or is it still quite broad?
They'll come to me with goals of like, I want a career change or I want a relationship or, there's something that they want that they're not able to get on their own.
Hmm.
But at the core, always what it comes down to is self worth.
Oh, right.
Self-worth and confidence and esteem. So, yes, we work on that goal, but I think the most important part of coaching and what I do is really having you trust and believe in yourself and know that you have all the answers within, that you're not searching externally. So, when you get that new job, when you get that new relationship, you're not relying on those things to make you happy and putting all of that, external need and that pressure on something that you can't control. You're building that within so that you're then attracting to you what feels aligned.
Right. Okay. I think that's a good point actually, because I think self-esteem and just self-confidence is what governs a lot of our decisions and a lot of our actions. And as soon as you feel uncomfortable in any situation, you will, depending on how confident you are, you'll find a way to navigate it, or you'll find a way to succumb to the situation. I think we've all, I've seen, I kind of first saw this in action when I was like, I was thinking to myself, you go around the street, right, and you could go to someone who's really smart, really really smart. He's always been, working. He's a working guy. He's really smart. He makes loads of money. Um, but he's not really been in too much of a stressful situation. He's always judging other people, judging himself against other people. And if you compare that to the other person who actually might, if you think about that stereotypical, like someone who might be, let's say, um, not as smart, maybe not as higher up in the ranks as this guy, but super hardworking. If you put them into a stressful scenario, the person who's going to be hardworking, the person who's kind of got that more confidence, is going to be able to handle it better than the person who, on books, is more successful,
Mm-hmm.
because that person might not have the self confidence to go for it and
Mm-hmm.
really tackle it. And it just took me by surprise. It was like that whole essence of, even sometimes when they say that even if you don't feel confident, have that fake confidence that, like, don't worry, I'll solve it. Sometimes that can get you through a problem, that fake confidence,
Yeah.
rather than just being like, well, I'm not made for it. I'm not good enough anyways.
Right.
And so I wanted to ask you, because self-esteem is a thing that's it's always been popping, and it's even more trending now with social media, especially with young people, where they feel like, oh, because they've dressed a certain way, they act a certain way, I'm not good enough. How does someone actually go about improving their self-esteem? Is there any particular framework they can use?
For me, it starts with compassion, self love, and forgiveness. So,
Okay.
depending on the situation, like if we take teenagers who I work with who are on social media and their self esteem is already impacted because you're a teenager, that's what happens. You're
Yeah, of
in that
course.
transition phase. So, you're
Yeah.
discovering yourself. It's all new. But on top of it, you're comparing yourself to others. I would look at the actions that are contributing to your feeling of a low confidence or low self esteem. And then I would invite you to question those actions. Are they working for you? Are they not? What could you do instead? Or reframe them and say, like, why are you looking to this person thinking that they're better than you? You don't know their whole story. They're only posting, what they want you to see. You're not seeing them rolling out of bed like, I woke up like this. No, you didn't. Like that
Yeah,
whole
yeah.
trend, right? So it's kind of putting things into perspective and just offering a different point of view. Because if all you see are online influencers who are looking amazing, and then you're looking in the mirror and you're like, I don't look like that, we need to reframe and be like, this is all that you're seeing. Can we look around and look at what normal people look like? There's a range of possibilities that you fall within. It's not just one ideal of beauty, and that's just talking about beauty standards, but
Hmm.
success is the same thing. you know if you're only looking at successful seven figure CEOs and that's all you're bombarded with, and then you're looking at your life and you're like, well, I don't have that money, so I must not be successful. Wait a second. What maybe success is different for you. Maybe success for you is flexibility and freedom in your schedule. It's time to see your friends along with work. It's choosing your projects, right? So it's perspective shifts and just seeing for you, what does that mean? And I think even just having the opportunity to look at, for you, what does that bring you or what does that mean in your life? It allows you to connect deeper with yourself and then start following what you want and not what you think you want because of other people.
Hmm. And that's kind of self-awareness, isn't it? Being very
It is.
self-reflective and self-aware, so that even if you are feeling down about anything, you can almost identify it. Even if you're feeling stressed about something, you can identify it. One method that I've been using more and more, and it's helped me out a lot, is whenever you get stressed and you're like full of, I don't know, emotions or feelings, and you're just like,
Mhm.
I just don't feel that well. um Someone told me, like, you should be able to label your emotions. So, like, sometimes just take a side and just go, okay, why am I angry? And sometimes you realize it's just the most stupidest things that make you angry. You'll be moody the whole day, and you realize it's because, I don't know, it was raining in the morning and my shoes got wet. And you'll be like,
Yeah.
really? That's what caused me to be angry the entire day? Like, really? Is that what I am?
Mhm.
And when you are self-aware, you realize there's so many little things that sometimes trigger you, and when you can act on them slowly, and bit by bit, then you can just become a better kind of you become better at handling yourself, really,
Mhm.
and you
Absolutely.
project a better image of yourself out to the world. And when you're doing this coaching, Sabrina, is it all in the form of classes? Because classes allow you to do it like one to one or maybe in even a group session. Or do
Mhm.
you have other mediums that you kind of promote and do this kind of advice through?
Mostly one-on-one coaching.
Nice.
I've done groups, which have been amazing as well. I think both have their benefits. What I love about one-on-one is that, it's direct feedback. You can get to move through it quicker because it's really just working one-on-one with that person. In the groups, what's nice is that you realize you're not alone and that we're all connected in some way. We may be living different situations, but at the end of the day, we're all struggling with the same thing.
Hmm.
So I think being seen and heard in the sense of community is nice for a group. It also allows me to, impact more people at once, to have a group setting.
Exactly.
So yeah, I do workshops as well. So like gatherings, like a one-time gathering of people, which is really fun in different topics. Yeah, that's what I do right now.
And any of those methods you prefer over the other?
Um, I th- I can't say I prefer. I think they all have their strengths. Um, I would say, I mean, the one on one, it's because I get to know the person and I get to really see and walk them through and guide them through every week. The
Mm-hmm.
group is just seeing the dynamic. And what I love in either a workshop or a group setting is that you see how everyone can have an influence on each other, and how the last workshop I did, I actually took a step back at the end because they all started sharing and like encouraging each other. And I was like, oh my God, this is beautiful. Like the community that was just built, like I started the conversation and then they all pitched in and they were all giving each other love and support. And I was like, wow. So
Amazing.
that's what's beautiful about that experience too.
Yeah. And so when you're kind of doing this and you're reaching out to people, how sometimes I've spoken to coaches and they've said that they have to really, really try to get someone on board with them. And you can have that kind of initial where people have their guards up. They don't want to
Mhm.
immediately, people don't want to trauma dump you, do they? So people can have their guards up. How do you break through that initial conversation so that people can start trusting you and eventually revealing to you their, biggest problems?
Mhm. When I first started, I found myself having to do a lot of convincing. And then I quickly realized that's not my job. My job is not to convince you to change. I want to show you what's possible. And when you're ready, you come to me. So now the people
Okay.
that come to me, they already know they have to change, or they already know that there's something they need to work on. It's just a matter of saying, like, are we the right fit? Am I the right guide to help you to get there? Because I'm also not, as a coach, I'm not the person who's going to give you advice. I'm here to have you create that advice within yourself. So I'm not here to tell you what to do. I'm here to help empower you to make those decisions. So, along with that, back to the convincing, like, I'm not here to convince you that you need me. Like that's a whole other step that I don't feel is necessary, because I feel like then it's not natural, it's forced. There's going to be resistance, there might be
Yeah.
regret at the end, or they might have these high expectations, but because I force them, then if it doesn't work out, they're going to blame me. Like there's just too much negativity, so I prefer to keep it positive of, here I am, here's what I do, here's my story, and if you feel like I can help you get to where you need to, let's chat. And then let's see, like, how can we work together? Does it feel like a good fit? And if yes, like, it needs to be an easy yes.
Hmm.
You need to go all in, because the people who do this work, you need to be ready to put in those hours, to put in that deep reflective work. You can't just stay on the surface. So again, it's like when you're ready, you'll know. And now that's what I trust. Like when people are ready, they'll come to me. There have been, I think, on 2 or 3 occasions where I've spoken to someone and they're like, oh, I'm not sure and hesitant. And I'm like, okay, I'm here when you're ready. And they've come back months later and they're like, I'm ready, pay in full, let's go. And that's when I know, when
Okay.
it's a pay in full, I'm like, yes, like they're in and they're going to do the work. And I know they're committed and we're going to see results because of that.
Nice. And so, is there anyone else you've had to turn down? Maybe because even though they were ready, they weren't a good fit for you specifically.
Yes, there was someone in the beginning who I did have to turn down, very hesitant, very like, I'm not sure if this is right for me. And I was like, you know what? Maybe timing is not right. So take your time, reflect on what you need to, and then I'm always here for you. And they never reached out again. And I was like, see, it's okay. It was meant to be.
That's fine. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Because initially, when you're starting off, in any kind of advisory role, you want to take on as many people as possible. Because, like I said before, sometimes you start off with the aim of, I just want to help as much as possible, which is not a inherently bad goal.
Mhm.
But you have to realize your own limitations, right? Like, you can't actually help as many people as possible. You can only really
Right.
help people that, A, you have the experience to do so, and B, resonate with you in the first place.
Mhm.
And so you'd actually be doing a disservice if there was someone who genuinely didn't really need, or wasn't really going to get the best out of your help, and you still tried
Absolutely.
to.
Yeah.
It's better that they have another coach they can reach out to who might be able to do a
Yeah.
better job. And this
Or
is
sometimes, oh, sorry, I was going
yeah.
to add too, or sometimes if they come to me and I feel like they're better suited for therapy or they need,
Mm,
a professional licensed therapist, I would refer them to them. So it's kind of knowing my limitations as a coach as
yeah.
well, and knowing like when we're a good fit or not. It's also that like maybe you need a therapist or you need both of us to help you because you need to work through some past issues, but you also maybe want to forward see your goal and start like working towards that so you can benefit from both, or go see the therapist, deal with the past situations that you can't seem to work through, and then when you're ready to move forward, come to me, kind of thing.
Okay. So for someone who might be considering becoming a coach,
Mhm.
what kind of questions should they ask themselves before they go into it, so that they make sure that not only they're going into the right role for themselves, but that they'll also do the best service they can to the people who they then eventually want to coach?
Yes. The first thing is, are you willing to do the work for yourself? Because as a coach, the work is ongoing. You need to be doing that inner work. You need to be resourcing yourself. You need to be nourishing yourself. You need to be taking care of yourself to be able to show up and serve your clients in the best way. So the coach who's like, I've done the work, I'm healed, and we're good, I'd be like, run away from that coach because the healing work is never done. The healing
Okay.
work is ongoing. And for anyone who claims that it's a check, like a one and done, there's something that's missing, right? So healing is ongoing, and it's also acknowledging that for yourself and for your clients. And even if we work through issues, they're going to come up again. So, the feeling of being angry, like you were mentioning earlier, and then realizing, oh, that's why I'm angry, it doesn't mean that now that you've identified it, it's never going to happen again. It's just that when it does happen again, you know how to handle it or you know how to move through it quicker. And that's what this work
Hmm.
is all about. So it's also knowing that you're not here to save lives in that sense. You're not here to fix people. Nobody is broken. You're here to genuinely be of service to someone who can't do something on their own. And you maybe have a little more experience and maybe just 2, 3 years ahead of them is all you need to really help them because you've been through that and you see clearly on the other side and you can help them through. So there's a willingness to guide, but to not lead, if that makes sense, because they are the
Yeah.
leaders of their life. So you're just kind of asking the right questions, framing it in a way that they have the answers within. So when I'm coaching, I'm not telling them what to do. I'm asking them questions so they figure it out. Even if I know exactly what it is that they should be
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
I'm not going to be like, well, you need to just take action. I'm going to be like, well, how do you think this is going to help you by taking action or not? Like, right, like you frame questions so that they come to that realization because that's stronger in terms of what they feel. When they feel like it comes from themselves, then it's like the aha moment. It's not because I said something, it's because they realize something that's going to be the impact to have them change and move forward.
Exactly. That's just psychology, isn't it? If you tell someone to do something, then they will just think why, and if you don't tell them the why clearly enough, then they just won't do it.
Yeah.
Um, and this is why you kind of want to create that scenario where they find the answers themselves. So then at least they feel like, I wasn't told to do this. I know I have to do this. Like,
Yeah. They
I
take responsibility.
self-reflected and I know I
Yeah.
have to do it. It's my responsibility. No one else can do this for me.
Right.
And that's so powerful when someone does go through that. And I'm sure it takes different amounts of time for people to reach that stage. As someone might reach it very quickly. Someone might
Yes.
take a couple of sessions to then reach, oh yeah, I realize now this is where I'm
Hmm.
lacking. And it's about kind of helping them along that process,
Hmm.
how long they take, right?
Right.
So we were talking about how someone should know if coaching is right for them. And it's about, are you willing to make the effort? Are you willing to go above and beyond because you are changing lives to some extent, but then also making sure not doing you're not taking on too many people at once. But then how does someone who's again trying to go into coaching, how might they be able to find the correct person for them to coach rather than anyone and everyone?
If you're looking for a coach, like how
No,
to
no. So
find.
no. So if I'm gonna be a coach and
Mhm.
I need to go think, okay, who do I even reach out to? Who's gonna need my help specifically? How do I
Ah,
do that?
I think it's being in the right spaces, communities, forums, online platforms where your audience would be. So thinking of when I started and it was very specific to career coaching, well, I'm going to go on LinkedIn or I'm going to go in corporate settings where I know those people are that I could really reach them. I think with social media, because of my dance background, a lot of my followers are dancers. So when it comes to coaching and teaching dance, that's what I'm going to promote because I know that that's where that audience is. So
Yeah.
it's kind of just knowing who your ideal audience is and where are they, and then sending messages in their environment so that you're not just posting and hoping they see you. It's like you're going exactly where they are, or even coming onto podcasts or, aligning with podcasts who know are going to speak to your audience so that you can get into their environment a little easier than having to actually just like search.
Yeah. And where do you want to take this further then in terms of any things you've planned? Because the typical things I've heard are classes, which you're doing, but
Hmm.
then people also sometimes start writing books. They
Yes.
do courses because, of course, a course isn't linked to your time. It's linked to just
Yes.
someone coming to your website, for example. Retreats, like you've done a little bit,
Yes.
but some people do like retreats abroad and things like that. What have
Yes.
you considered? What are you thinking of?
All of the above.
Okay.
Everything, yes. Definitely courses. That's next. I tried, and maybe future coaches or new coaches, if you're listening, this could be helpful. When I started, I tried to start with a course, and that was challenging
Oh,
because what I
really?
learned is that I needed to gain the experience first of actually coaching people. And I think one on one coaching is really helpful for that, to then be able to narrow down the type of course. And
Hmm.
now, after a few years, I'm like, okay, I think I'm ready to put together a course to then live evergreen on my website to help more people if the one on one coaching option is not for them. So that's definitely in the works. Retreats are something that I've loved attending and always wanted to do. So that's definitely a dream, even combining dance, right? So having, my worlds come together in that way, and my love of traveling, like this is basically a perfect
Amazing.
opportunity. Yeah,
Yeah.
but definitely that's in the works.
Amazing. And what about you? What kind of things have you learned in this process of starting a business and
Hmm.
other helping other people as well?
Yeah. Ooh, starting a business is hard. It's not for the weak-hearted. I wanted to quit on many occasions. Just questioned, it's so much work. It's hard. I'm all alone, trying to figure it out on my own. And only this year, when I joined a collective mastery program to enhance my coaching skills, did I find my community? Did I find that we were all kind of going through the same thing? And it made it a little easier to have that support to power
Hmm.
through. And it also reminded me, like, this is my calling. This is really what I want to do. So, yes, it's going to be hard, but don't give up because this is something that is really important to me. I think though support is huge, because when you think you're alone, even if you're not, but when you think you're alone in this, you can quickly spiral downward into a depression that's like hopelessness. So having people to support you, having a community around you, seeking out coaches for yourself, getting that support in that way. So if there's things that you're unsure of, because obviously you have an area of expertise, but maybe for you the coaching itself is your expertise, but the business and the systems and the marketing is not.
Yeah.
Well, don't go crazy trying to figure everything out. Like, hire someone or get support from someone who has that as their expertise to kind of relieve the pressure from you, so you're learning from them and you're still working towards it, but you get to focus your energy on what you do best. So like that zone of genius, as they call it.
Nice, nice. Well, I mean, Sabrina, I think you're doing a great job, and the
Thank
people
you.
you've, I mean, because you have a pretty unique aspect in the sense that you had a complete career shift, right? And that gives you a really good insight into people with the same problems, which is
Mhm.
exactly what you're helping out in. And I think it's important for you to do so because having a career shift, people have career shifts for all sorts of reasons. And some people do it on purpose, oh, I'm just going to change. I just don't feel like it. but some people just struggle. And we
Yeah.
talk about the struggles in terms of the corporate life, or maybe they're linked to a boss, or maybe it might just be, oh, I've made so many friends here. I just like, even though I hate it, surely I can't leave now. I've made good friends.
Right.
Or it might be similar to you, where you were like, if I go into another company, I'm gonna have to start from the bottom and work my way up again. And do I have the energy for that anymore? Or is it just the industry? There's so many questions that someone has to ask themselves,
Right.
and having a coach like you there to kind of give them the environment for them to ask those questions to themselves and
Yeah.
answer it, and hopefully get some questions out, will allow your client or the person who's struggling to kind of get some clarity over the situation. Because
Yeah.
otherwise, you have way too many questions and not enough answers, and it just spirals, as you said,
Oh
into
yeah.
this kind of phase of like either depression or burnout, or just you stop being irritable or angry, you change
Hmm.
character. And no one wants that, really. And I'm sure even for the people, like I'm in a very fortunate position, I've not experienced burnout. Yeah, I say yeah because it might come, but who knows? But I'm sure for people who are in it, they probably hate it themselves. You know, if
Yeah.
you can notice that you're becoming irritable, you're probably there
Right.
like, I just hate the fact that I used to, you know, the person who I used to be so nice friends with, I don't know why I just keep getting angry for no reason.
Yeah.
And yeah, you feel like you're the problem. It's just so many things. So I think you're doing a great job. You've established a good niche of people that align with the problem you've gone through and experienced, and you're clearly looking at ways to kind of elaborate further in terms of courses, or courses, retreats. I
Hmm.
quite find retreats as like a pretty good idea, I think, because everyone likes to travel, everyone
Yeah.
likes to meet new people, and if you're in a group of people who've all kind of experienced or are experiencing similar problems and you're solving it on a retreat, I mean, it sounds like the perfect triple combo, to be honest. um, of just
Absolutely.
good things in general, because it gets people out of that place, right? You doing virtual one-to-ones is great, but that person might be calling from the same house that they've got the baby crying in the background, so it's not really changing environment, is it?
Yeah.
So yeah, I think retreats, I've spoken to a couple of coaches, and the retreat idea, every time I'm like, oh, sounds so nice, must be quite nice going on a retreat.
Yeah.
um so yeah, thank you so much for coming on
Thank you.
and really like sharing everything you've done. I found it really interesting when reading about you beforehand about this career shift, and I was like, I really want to know more about why. I mean, why on earth does someone do that?
Yeah.
And clearly, it makes sense. You've given it in a way that I understand, and you kind of resonate with it. And so, I'd like to ask you a final question, Sabrina, which is, if you had to give yourself advice from the point that you did uh, step out of your job, you realized, you've gone through the burnout,
Hmm.
your bosses, you've had your meeting with your boss, and they're like, oh, maybe you should think about something different. You're
Hmm.
like, okay, sorted. And then you leave and you're exposed. What
Hmm.
piece of advice would you give yourself so that you could persevere through?
Be patient and trust yourself.
Trust yourself.
Trust
Nice.
yourself. Yeah.
And it
Absolutely.
goes back to that self awareness thing we were talking about
Yeah,
before.
absolutely. Because again, you have all the answers within. You have an internal compass. We just don't know how to use it. We maybe
Mm,
forgot how to listen to that inner voice as well. So it's more about relearning that connection with self, and that comes with trust, and that comes with patience too. Because maybe it won't be figured out in a day, a week, a month. It may take time, but know that you're exactly where you're meant to be. That phrase helped me a lot. You're exactly where you're meant to be. To just be
mm,
present, to be grounded, and to give yourself a chance to figure things out, and not expect to have clarity necessarily before action. So take just that first step forward of where you feel you need to go, and then the path will reveal itself.
yeah. One thing I like to do in a situation like that is think that anytime that I've been stressed before, anytime you've gone through a difficulty before and you've come out on the other end of it, you know how you always look back and you're like, you know what, actually that made me grow as a person, or you know what,
Yeah.
actually it makes me see things through a different light, or you know what, that was probably a blessing in disguise. And I just go, okay, if after the end of that difficult period, that's what I come out with, and if I can feel like I'm in a difficult period right now,
Yeah.
well, it's only going to be the same thing again. It's not like I'm going to come out of this one and really hate it. I'm probably going to look back and go, you know what, actually that was quite good, I went through that. And I think that's enough for you to, that can be something that can push you, and you can persevere through it, just knowing that after the end of it, you're going to look back and be like, you know what, I'm a different person, I'm stronger now,
Yeah.
I'm more resilient, and it was probably better that I went through that difficult period rather than didn't.
Yeah. I love that. And it reminds me of a tool that I work with my clients when they're focusing on building self confidence. Make a list of your accomplishments. Make a list of all the
Mm,
times that you thought you weren't going to be able to, and then you did, and keep that list close by and read it as many times as you need to remind yourself how resilient you are, how strong, how powerful, and how you can do anything. I think we
yeah.
often forget when we're faced with something new, we're in that like, oh my God, I can't do this. But like, look at all the times in the past that you've done things that you didn't think were possible. So it's having that visual reminder and that proof that you can do all the hard things or anything that you want.
Exactly. Amazing. And then Sabrina, where can people find out more about you and all the amazing work you do?
My website would be a great place to start. So it's sabrinadelduca.com. My podcast is called Get Into Flow Podcast, and social media on Instagram as Duchess Sabrina.
Amazing. And all the links will be in the description for anyone who's interested. Well,
Amazing.
Sabrina, thank you so much for coming on, sharing such a good, interesting story, and giving some really good advice into people who may be struggling with hardships, particularly with navigating a change, especially when you don't know what you're going into. You're stepping into the unknown, and knowing what the right thing is for you and isn't. And you know how you said before that sometimes it's just about taking that first step.
Yeah.
Well, that first step might actually just be getting a coach.
Yeah.
If you're in so much of a problem that you don't know what to do, well, the first step might just be getting someone there who can maybe see you from outside. I
Mhm.
had a really good analogy someone gave to me. It's a couple of months ago. It was Mark Sanchez, and he said sometimes you can't read the label of your bottle from inside the bottle. You need someone to read it from the outside. I was
Yeah.
like, you know what? That's a pretty good analogy. You
I
just
love
need that
that.
other person.
Yeah. And I love being that person also to offer those different perspectives and to invite you to think different, invite you to see things in a different way. And you can totally do it on your own, but you don't have to. And that's why
Yeah,
coaches exist to just make it a
exactly.
little easier for you in the process. So thank you. I appreciate that.